My name is Elena Rodriguez. On the morning I turned 20, I woke up to the sound of champagne bottles popping and my family screaming with joy in the driveway. For exactly 3 seconds, my heart soared, thinking maybe, just maybe, this year would be different. Maybe they'd remembered. Maybe they'd planned something special. Maybe, after 19 years of being invisible, I'd finally be seen. I threw on my robe and ran downstairs, my bare feet cold against the hardwood floors, my pulse racing with that stupid, stubborn hope that never quite dies no matter how much evidence you have against it. Instead, I found my 17-year-old sister Sophia standing next to a brand new white sedan with a giant red bow covering the entire hood like something out of a luxury car commercial. She was crying, actual tears of happiness streaming down her perfectly made-up face, while my parents hugged her from both sides like she'd just won an Olympic gold medal. My father had tears in his eyes. My mother was laughing and crying simultaneously. Aunt Patricia, who I didn't even know was visiting, was taking professional quality photos with her expensive camera. And me? I stood in the doorway in my pajamas, invisible as always, watching them celebrate. Nobody noticed me for a full 2 minutes. Nobody turned around. Nobody said my name. When Mom finally glanced in my direction, she didn't say, "Happy birthday." She didn't acknowledge that today was supposed to be my day. Instead, she said, "Oh, Elena, perfect timing. Can you take a photo of your sister with her new car?" My hands are shaking too much from excitement. My throat closed. My vision blurred. I managed to whisper, It's my birthday today." The celebration paused. Just for a second, Mom's smile faltered, Dad's arms loosened around Sophia, and my sister's perfect crying face froze mid-sob. For one brief, painful moment, I saw recognition flash across their features. They'd forgotten. They'd actually forgotten. But instead of apologizing, instead of acknowledging their mistake, Dad cleared his throat and said, "We know that, sweetheart. We'll celebrate you later. But Sophia's been wanting this car for so long, and the dealership had a special deal that expired today, so we had to jump on it. You understand, right? You've always been so understanding." There it was. That phrase I'd heard my entire life. You're so understanding. Translation: you're expected to accept less, to need less, to be happy with whatever scraps we throw your way because your sister deserves the feast. Plus, Sophia added, her tears magically drying as she turned to me with that expression of false sweetness she'd perfected over the years. "It's not like you even have your driver's license yet, so what would you do with a car? This makes more sense, right?" I didn't have my license because every time I'd asked about driving lessons, I was told we couldn't afford them right now. Sophia had gotten hers the day she turned 16, with private lessons from a professional instructor that cost $300. She'd failed the test twice and needed additional lessons, which my parents paid for without complaint. "She's just nervous," they'd explained. "She needs extra support." I'd taught myself to drive in parking lots using YouTube videos, too afraid to ask for help after seeing how much money they'd poured into Sophia's failure. "We didn't forget about you," Dad said. And for one stupid second, hope flickered again. Then he pulled something out of his jacket pocket. A birthday card in a wrinkled envelope that looked like it had been sitting in his car for weeks. "Here. Happy birthday, Elena." He handed it to me. I stared at my name on the envelope. Elena, with 2 L's. They'd spelled my name wrong. My own parents, who'd supposedly chosen that name with care when I was born, who'd written it on 20 years' worth of school forms and doctor's appointments, had spelled it wrong on my birthday card. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a generic card, the kind you grab at a drugstore checkout line when you suddenly remember you need one. The printed message read, "Happy birthday, hope your day is special." The kind of impersonal message you'd give to a coworker you barely know. Below that, 3 signatures hastily scrawled. Mom's signature was barely legible. Rushed, like she'd signed it while doing something else. Dad's was just his first initial, not even his full name. Just R. Sophia had written, "Love ya," with a smiley face that looked like it had been drawn while she was walking, the ink smearing at the end. That was it. That was my entire 20th birthday acknowledgement from my family. A generic card with my name spelled wrong, signed so hastily I could practically feel their impatience radiating off the paper, handed to me as an afterthought while they celebrated my sister's early birthday with a car that cost more than I'd make in 3 years of working. "Thanks," I whispered, because what else could I say? What response was appropriate for this moment? How do you react when your own family proves, yet again, that you simply don't matter? "Oh, good, you like it," Mom said, her attention already turning back to Sophia. "Now come on, sweetie. Let's get photos before the morning light changes. The golden hour won't last forever." They spent the next hour and 15 minutes taking photos. I timed it. 75 minutes of photographing Sophia from every conceivable angle. Sophia in front of the car. Sophia in the driver's seat. Sophia leaning against the hood. Sophia with Mom and Dad on either side. Sophia pretending to drive with her hands at perfect 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. Sophia making exaggerated, excited faces for her Instagram. Sophia with the bow. Sophia without the bow. Close-ups of Sophia's hands on the steering wheel to show off her fresh manicure. Wide shots of Sophia with the whole car. Every single photo was immediately uploaded to social media with captions like "Dreams come true," and "Best parents ever," and "Blessed beyond measure," and "God is good." I watched from the porch steps, still holding my wrinkled card with my name spelled wrong, wondering if anyone would notice if I just disappeared, wondering if they'd even realize I was gone. Aunt Patricia was the only one who seemed remotely uncomfortable with the situation. She walked over to me around the 40-minute mark, guilt written across her face like a billboard. "Elena, honey, they're just excited about the car. You know how your parents are when they get something new. They're like kids at Christmas. It doesn't mean they don't care about you." But it did mean that. That's exactly what it meant. Because caring about someone means remembering their birthday. It means acknowledging their existence on the one day a year that's supposed to belong to them. It means not making them watch everyone else celebrate while they stand alone in their pajamas holding a card that proves just how little they matter. "Yeah," I said flatly, my voice empty of emotion. "I know exactly how they are." Aunt Patricia squeezed my shoulder, a gesture that somehow made everything worse, and went back to taking more photos of Sophia. Photos that would be framed, hung on walls, shared with relatives, talked about for years. Meanwhile, I had no photos for my 20th birthday. None. Not a single one. Because nobody thought to take any. By the time they finally came inside, it was almost 10 a.m. I'd been awake for over 2 hours on my birthday, and not one person had said happy birthday directly to me, not once, not even in passing. "I'm making breakfast," Mom announced cheerfully, pulling ingredients from the cabinet with the enthusiasm of someone who genuinely believed they were doing something wonderful. Special birthday pancakes. For one brief, idiotic moment, my heart lifted. Maybe she'd remembered. Maybe breakfast was her way of making it up to me. "Sophia's favorite," Mom continued, crushing that hope like a bug under her shoe. "Chocolate chip with whipped cream and strawberries. The works. My baby deserves it after such an exciting morning." Sophia bounced into the kitchen, still glowing with the high of her unexpected gift. "This is literally the best day of my entire life. I can't wait to drive to school on Monday. Everyone's going to be so jealous." "It's not your birthday," I said quietly, the words escaping before I could stop them. "Today is my birthday. Yours is in 3 weeks." The kitchen went silent. The kind of silence that's heavy and uncomfortable and makes everyone shift their weight from foot to foot. Everyone stared at me like I'd just said something incredibly rude, like I'd committed some unforgivable social faux pas. "Elena," Dad said in that warning tone he used when he thought I was being difficult, when he was about to lecture me about gratitude and perspective. "Don't start. We're having a nice morning. Don't ruin it with negativity. A nice morning celebrating Sophia's birthday. On my birthday." "We already gave you a card," Mom said, her voice tight with annoyance, like I was being a demanding child asking for too much. "A very nice card. What more do you want? We can't afford 2 big celebrations. You need to be realistic." "You just bought a car," I pointed out, my voice still quiet but steady. "A brand new car that probably cost $30,000. But you can't afford to remember my birthday? That's completely different." Dad snapped, his face reddening the way it did when he was about to lose his temper. That car is an investment in Sophia's future. She needs reliable transportation for school, for her internships, for her social life. It's practical. Your birthday is it's just one day. It's not that important in the grand scheme of things. Just one day. My entire existence reduced to just one day. That wasn't important. And anyway, Mom added, turning back to her pancake batter, you're always so responsible, Elena. You'll figure out transportation on your own, like you figure out everything else. Sophia needs more support. She's more vulnerable. Surely you can understand that. You've always been the strong one. There it was. The line I'd heard my entire life, repeated so many times it might as well have been tattooed on my forehead. Sophia needs more. You need less. Sophia deserves more. You should accept less. Sophia, 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 always Sophia. I'm going upstairs, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Can you bring down the good camera first? Mom asked without even looking at me, her hands covered in pancake batter. I want to take more photos of Sophia with the car once the sun moves. The lighting's going to be perfect in about an hour. I didn't answer. I just turned and walked upstairs to my room, my legs feeling heavy, my chest tight, my eyes burning with tears I refused to let fall in front of them. My room looked the same as it always had. Small, unchanged, forgotten. The furniture was the same furniture I'd had since I was 8 years old. The desk was scratched and wobbly. The dresser had a drawer that stuck so badly I'd stopped using it entirely. The curtain rod was held up with duct tape because it had broken 2 years ago and nobody bothered to replace it. The walls were still the pale yellow they'd been painted when I was in elementary school, now faded and dingy, with marks and scratches that told the story of a room nobody cared enough about to maintain. Sophia's room, by contrast, had been redecorated 4 times. 4 times in the past 6 years. Each time with a complete overhaul. New furniture, new paint, new curtains, new everything. Her current room looked like something out of an interior design magazine, all whites and golds, with a chandelier, a full-length mirror with professional lighting, and a queen-sized bed with a velvet headboard. My bed was a twin with a metal frame that squeaked every time I moved. Through the thin walls, I could hear them laughing downstairs. Mom was telling some story, probably about Sophia's reaction to the car. Dad was chuckling. Sophia's distinctive giggle carried up the stairs. The sounds of a happy family celebrating something wonderful. I sat on my bed in the dim morning light and looked at the card again. Elena. They couldn't even spell my name right. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through social media. My birthday was clearly listed in my profile. Social media had sent reminders to my friends. Already 15 people had posted on my wall, "Happy birthday, Elena. Hope you have an amazing day. 20 looks good on you. Can't wait to celebrate with you." But my own family, the people who supposedly loved me more than anyone, hadn't said it once. Not once. I spent my entire 20th birthday in my room. I sat there for hours, hearing life happen around me but not including me. Around 1 p.m., they left to take Sophia's new car for a test drive. I heard them discussing lunch plans as they headed out. "Where does Sophia want to go?" Dad asked. "It's her special day." It wasn't her special day, it was mine. But nobody cared. They were gone for 6 hours. 6 hours. I spent that time lying on my bed, staring at my ceiling, counting the cracks in the plaster. There were 17 visible cracks, some tiny, some spreading like spider webs. I'd counted them before. I'd counted them many times before, during other moments when I felt invisible, when I needed something concrete to focus on, some way to prove I existed even if nobody noticed. When they finally came home around 7 p.m., I heard them laughing, their arms full of shopping bags. They'd gone shopping, extended the celebration into a shopping trip, probably bought Sophia a whole new wardrobe to go with her new car. Mom poked her head into my room around 7:30. She didn't knock. She never knocked. "We're ordering pizza for dinner," she announced cheerfully, like this was good news I should be grateful for. "Sophia's choice since we're basically starting her birthday celebration early this year. Come down when it gets here." Okay, I said, not moving from my bed. She frowned, her good mood faltering for just a second. Are you sulking? Because that's really not attractive, Elena. Your sister got something nice. Be happy for her. Don't be jealous. Jealous. That was the word they always used when I showed any sign of hurt or disappointment. Jealous. As if the problem was my attitude and not their blatant favoritism. As if I was somehow morally deficient for wanting basic acknowledgement on my own birthday. I'm not jealous, I said quietly. I'm just tired. Well, don't sleep through dinner. Sophia wants everyone together for the pizza. She left without waiting for a response. I didn't go down for dinner. I waited until I heard them eating, their voices carrying up through the vents, talking and laughing about Sophia's perfect day. Then I quietly left my room, went to the kitchen, grabbed 2 slices of pizza from the box nobody was guarding, and went back upstairs. Nobody noticed. Nobody called after me. Nobody came to check on me. That night, as I lay in bed unable to sleep, my mind kept replaying the day, the celebration I'd watched from the sidelines, the card with my name spelled wrong, my mother's dismissive response when I pointed out it was actually my birthday, my father's anger at me for ruining their happy morning, Sophia's complete obliviousness to how any of this might affect me. But more than the specific moments, I kept thinking about the pattern. This wasn't new. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was the culmination of 20 years of being treated like I didn't matter. I started cataloging memories, unable to stop myself. When I was 7 and Sophia was 4, I fell off my bike and broke my arm. Mom took me to the emergency room, but she complained the entire time about missing Sophia's playdate. She's going to be so disappointed, Mom kept saying while I sat there in pain, my arm swelling, tears running down my face. She was really looking forward to this. When we finally got home after hours at the hospital, Sophia was indeed upset. Not because I was hurt, but because she'd had to stay with a neighbor instead of having her playdate. And somehow, I was expected to apologize to her for the inconvenience my broken arm had caused. When I was 12 and made the honor roll for the 6th consecutive semester, Mom said, "That's nice, honey," without looking up from her phone. The same week, Sophia drew a picture of a cat that her teacher hung in the classroom, and my parents took us all out to dinner to celebrate. They framed the picture. They still have it hanging in the hallway. My honor roll certificates went in a drawer somewhere, probably lost by now. When I was 15 and won a regional writing competition, beating out hundreds of other students to place first, I came home bursting with pride and excitement. Dad was watching TV. I tried to tell him about my win. He held up one finger to silence me, waited for the commercial break, and then said, "That's great, kiddo. Hey, can you make me a sandwich?" That was it. That was the entire response to my biggest achievement to date. Sophia got a new phone that same month for no particular reason, except that she wanted one. When I was 17 and worked all summer to save money for a laptop I needed for college applications, Mom asked to borrow $300 from my savings for Sophia's birthday party. "We'll pay you back," she promised. They never did. Sophia's birthday party had a hired DJ, a catered dinner, and a professional photographer. It was featured on Sophia's Instagram for weeks. "Best parents ever," she'd captioned the photos. "So blessed." Meanwhile, I bought a used laptop that barely worked. The examples went on and on. Hundreds of tiny cuts, each one alone might seem forgivable, but together they formed a pattern so clear, so undeniable, that I couldn't understand how I'd accepted it for so long. No, that's not true. I did understand. I'd accepted it because I was taught to accept it. Because every time I tried to point out the inequality, I was told I was being jealous, dramatic, ungrateful. Because I was told that being strong and independent meant I didn't need what Sophia needed. Because I'd been gaslighted so thoroughly that I'd started to believe maybe I was the problem. But I wasn't the problem. I'd never been the problem. That realization hit me like a physical blow. I wasn't the problem. They were. And if I wasn't the problem, then I didn't need to fix myself. I needed to remove myself from the situation. I got out of bed, turned on my desk lamp, and pulled out my laptop. It was 2 a.m., but I was wide awake, my mind buzzing with a clarity I'd never felt before. I started searching for apartments. Small studios, shared houses, basement apartments, anything I could afford. I'd been working 2 jobs since I was 16, first because I wanted my own money, then because I realized my parents would never financial support me the way they supported Sophia. I'd saved obsessively, knowing I'd need to pay for college myself, knowing I couldn't rely on them for anything. I had $2,147 in my savings account. Not a fortune, but maybe enough. The cheapest studio I found was $650 a month plus utilities, in a neighborhood that wasn't great, but wasn't dangerous. The listing said available immediately and first, last, and security required. I did the math. First month, $650. Last month, $650. Security deposit, usually 1 month's rent, so another $650. Total, $1,950. That would leave me with $897. Utilities would probably run another $150 per month, so I'd have about $750 after moving costs, which would need to stretch until my next few paychecks. It was tight, really tight, but it was possible. I spent the next 3 hours researching everything: tenant rights, lease agreements, what to look for in an apartment, how to handle utilities, renter's insurance, everything I could think of. I made lists, calculated budgets, planned everything down to the dollar. By the time the sun started to rise, I had a plan. I was going to leave. The decision should have felt scary. It should have felt overwhelming. Instead, it felt like the first deep breath after being underwater too long. I spent the next 2 weeks quietly preparing. I was careful, methodical. I didn't want anyone to suspect anything until it was too late to stop me. I started moving money out of my savings account in small amounts, withdrawing cash so there'd be no electronic trail. I didn't think my parents would try to stop me financially, but I wasn't taking chances. Every 2 or 3 days, I'd withdraw $100, $200. Nothing large enough to trigger any alerts or draw attention. I called the landlord of the studio apartment, a tired-sounding man named Mr. Carvalho, who asked very few questions. "You got first, last, and security and cash?" he asked. "And you're over 18? When I said yes to both, he said, "Come see it tomorrow." The apartment was worse than the photos suggested. The carpet was stained with what I hoped was just old coffee. The bathroom tiles were cracked. The refrigerator made a concerning rattling noise. The kitchen was more of a kitchenette, barely big enough for one person to stand in. There was one tiny window that looked out onto a brick wall. The building smelled like curry and cigarette smoke mixed together. But it had a door that locked. It had running water and electricity. It was shelter. "I'll take it," I said. Mr. Carvalho raised his eyebrows. "You didn't ask about anything. Heat included? Trash removal? Parking? Is heat included?" "Yeah, and trash. No parking, though. Street parking only. I don't have a car. I'll take it." He shrugged and pulled out a lease. "Move-in date?" I thought about it. I needed time to pack, to prepare, to make sure I didn't forget anything crucial. 2 weeks from today? Works for me. Cash up front, though. No checks. 2 days later, I handed him $1,850 in cash, mostly in $20 bills. He counted it twice, gave me 2 keys, and said, "Rent's due on the 1st of every month. Late fees after the 5th. Don't cause problems and we won't have problems." I had an apartment. I had my own place. The reality of it hit me in waves. Excitement, terror, relief, panic, freedom. Nobody at home noticed anything was different. I'd gotten so good at being invisible that my slightly distracted behavior didn't register. I came and went as usual to my 2 jobs. I ate dinner with the family when required, which wasn't often since they usually ate while I was at work anyway. I responded with okay and sure whenever anyone asked me to do something. The hardest part was packing. What do you take when you're leaving your entire life behind? What's essential, and what can you live without? I had to be strategic. I couldn't pack boxes or suitcases. Nothing that would be obvious. Instead, I started wearing layers to work, bringing an extra hoodie or pair of jeans in my backpack, then storing them in my locker at the coffee shop where I worked mornings. Over 2 weeks, I smuggled out most of my clothes this way. Important documents were easier. My birth certificate, social security card, passport, high school diploma. All of it fit in a manila envelope that I kept in my backpack. The hardest decision was what sentimental items to take. I didn't have many, but I had some. A stuffed bear from childhood, some photos from happier times, though I struggled to remember when those times were. My journals from over the years, my favorite books. In the end, I decided if I couldn't carry it in 2 bags, it wasn't coming with me. Practicality over sentimentality. I spent my last week at home memorizing it, in a strange way. Not because I'd miss it, but because I wanted to remember why I left. I wanted to remember the chipped paint in my room, the broken dresser drawer, the duct-taped curtain rod. I wanted to remember the sound of Sophia's laughter carrying through the walls, my parents' voices praising her for the smallest things while my achievements went unnoticed. I wanted to remember how it felt to be invisible in my own home, so I'd never convince myself to come back. On my last night, Sophia came into my room without knocking. She did that constantly, treated my space like it was hers to invade whenever she felt like it. "Can I borrow your black sweater?" she asked, already rifling through my closet without waiting for an answer. "Sure," I said, because what did it matter? I was leaving tomorrow. She could have whatever she wanted. She found the sweater, held it up, decided it wasn't quite right, and tossed it on my bed. Actually, never mind. It's not really my style. Then she noticed my laptop open on my desk. "What are you doing?" "Just homework," I lied. I was actually finalizing my moving checklist. Boring. "Hey, did you see my new post? It got like 12,000 likes in 2 hours. I'm pretty sure I'm going to hit 100K followers soon. Mom says I should start a YouTube channel too. What do you think?" "Sounds great," I said automatically. She looked at me, really looked at me, for what felt like the first time in months. "Are you okay? You've been weird lately." For a moment I considered telling her, explaining how their favoritism had affected me, how forgotten I felt, how her constant need for attention and validation had overshadowed my entire existence. I considered asking if she'd ever noticed, ever cared, ever wondered what it was like to be me in this family. But what would be the point? Sophia genuinely didn't see the problem. To her, the world was structured correctly. She was at the center. Everyone else revolved around her. And that's just how things were supposed to be. She wasn't malicious. She was just completely self-absorbed in a way that our parents had enabled and encouraged her entire life. "I'm fine," I said. "Just tired." "You're always tired," she said, already losing interest in me. "Anyway, I'm going to Hannah's. Tell Mom if she asks." After she left, I sat in the quiet of my room and felt the weight of 2 decades of being second best, second thought, second rate. Tomorrow, that would end. I set my alarm for 5 a.m., early enough that everyone would still be asleep. I laid out clothes, prepared my bags, and went through my mental checklist one more time. Everything was ready. I should have felt scared. I should have felt guilty about leaving without a real goodbye, without an explanation, without giving them a chance to change. But they'd had 20 years to change. 20 years of opportunities to see me, to value me, to treat me like I mattered. They'd chosen not to every single time. I pulled out a piece of paper and wrote a note. I kept it short. "I'm moving out. I'm safe. I have a place to live and a plan. I need space from this family. Please don't contact me for a while. I'll reach out when I'm ready. Elena." No accusations, no explanations, no emotional outpouring. Just facts. I placed the note on the kitchen counter where they'd find it in the morning, held down by a coffee mug so it wouldn't blow away. At 5:15 a.m., I took one last look at my room. The room where I'd spent 20 years feeling invisible. The room where I'd cried myself to sleep more times than I could count. The room where I'd learned that love was conditional, and I didn't meet the conditions. I picked up my 2 bags, adjusted the straps on my backpack, and walked out. The house was silent as I crept through it. Down the stairs, through the living room, past the hallway where Sophia's framed certificates and photos covered the walls while none of mine appeared, past the kitchen where I'd eaten countless dinners in silence, while everyone else laughed and talked around me. Past the front door where Sophia's car keys hung on a hook, representing $30,000 they'd spent on her without hesitation, while telling me they couldn't afford to celebrate my birthday. I opened the front door as quietly as possible, stepped out into the pre-dawn darkness, and closed it behind me with a soft click. The Uber I'd called was waiting at the curb, the driver looking half asleep but patient. "Morning," he mumbled as I loaded my bags into the trunk. "Morning," I replied, sliding into the back seat. As we pulled away from the curb, I turned to look back at the house one last time. It looked the same as it always had. Ordinary, suburban, innocuous. From the outside, you'd never know what happened inside. You'd never know that behind those walls, a child had spent 20 years trying to earn love that should have been freely given. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "Big move?" "Yeah," I said. Something like that. "You nervous?" I thought about it honestly. Was I nervous? Scared? Anxious? No, I realized. I'm relieved. He nodded like he understood without needing more explanation. The drive to my new apartment took 25 minutes in the early morning traffic. The city was just waking up. Delivery trucks making rounds, early morning joggers, the occasional person walking a dog. The sky was starting to lighten, that in-between time that's neither night nor morning. When we pulled up to my building, I paid the driver in cash, tipped him well because he'd been kind and quiet, and carried my 2 bags up 3 flights of stairs to apartment 3B. The key turned smoothly in the lock. The door swung open, and there it was, my new life. The apartment looked even worse in the early morning light than it had during my viewing. The stains on the carpet were more visible. The crack in the bathroom tile was actually several cracks spreading out like a spider web. The window was so grimy I could barely see out of it. But it was mine. My name was on the lease. My keys opened the door. Nobody here would forget my birthday or spell my name wrong, or tell me I was being dramatic for wanting basic acknowledgement. I set my bags down in the middle of the empty room and just stood there for a long moment, breathing in the smell of old carpet and someone else's cooking and possibility. Then I got to work. I didn't have much, but I had enough. An air mattress I'd bought used from a thrift store, some sheets and a blanket, a few plates and cups and utensils I'd collected, some food, instant noodles, rice, peanut butter, bread, the basics. By 7 a.m., I had the air mattress inflated and made up with sheets. By 7:30, I had my clothes organized on the one shelf in the tiny closet. By 8 a.m., I had instant coffee made in a chipped mug and was sitting on my air mattress, looking around my new home and feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. My phone had been buzzing for an hour, but I'd been ignoring it. Finally, I looked. 27 missed calls, 43 text messages. I scrolled through them, watching the progression from confusion to concern to anger. Mom, 6:47 a.m. Where are you? This isn't funny. Dad, 6:52 a.m. Elena, come home right now. Sophia, 6:58 a.m. Where did you go? Mom, 7:05 a.m. We found your note. This is completely unacceptable. You're being ridiculous. Dad, 7:15 a.m. I'm calling the police if you don't respond in the next hour. Mom, 7:23 a.m. How could you do this to us? We've given you everything. Sophia, 7:31 a.m. This is so embarrassing. Everyone's going to ask where you are. Dad, 7:45 a.m. You're making a huge mistake. You won't survive on your own. Mom, 7:58 a.m. Fine. If you want to be dramatic and ungrateful, that's your choice. But don't come crying to us when you fail. I read the messages twice, then turned my phone on silent and set it face down on the floor. I had to be at work in 2 hours. I worked the opening shift at a coffee shop called Brewed Awakening, a local place that was always busy with the morning rush. I'd been there for almost 2 years, was reliable, got good tips, and genuinely enjoyed the work. There was something meditative about the routine of making coffee, the muscle memory of pulling shots and steaming milk, the brief interactions with customers who knew nothing about me except that I made a good cappuccino. I changed into my work clothes, washed my face in the tiny bathroom sink with water that took forever to get warm, and walked the 15 minutes to the coffee shop. My manager Rosa was already there, prepping for the morning rush. Rosa was in her late 40s, a single mom with 3 kids, tough but fair, with eyes that saw more than people gave her credit for. She looked up when I walked in. "Morning, Elena. You look different." "Different how?" She studied me for a moment. "Can't quite put my finger on it. Something about your face. You look lighter, less burdened." I smiled, probably the first genuine smile I'd worn in weeks. "I moved out yesterday, got my own apartment." Her eyebrows shot up. "By yourself? You're what, 20? "As of 2 weeks ago." "Damn, that's brave. Or crazy. Maybe both." She handed me an apron. "Everything okay at home?" "It is now," I said, tying the apron around my waist. "Now that I'm not there." Rosa nodded slowly, that understanding look in her eyes. "I get it. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is leave." We worked in comfortable silence for the next hour, preparing for the morning rush. By 8 a.m. we were slammed, an endless line of people needing caffeine to function. I lost myself in the rhythm, taking orders, calling out drinks, pulling espresso shots, steaming milk, making change, repeating. Around 10 a.m., during a brief lull, I checked my phone. More messages, but also some new ones that made my stomach drop. "Aunt Patricia. Elena, honey, please call me. I need to talk to you about something. It's important. Don't tell your parents I reached out." What now? More guilt trips? More attempts to convince me to come back? I waited until my lunch break to call her back. I stepped out into the alley behind the coffee shop, where employees took breaks surrounded by dumpsters and the smell of old coffee grounds. She answered on the second ring. "Elena. Thank God." "Hi, Aunt Patricia. What's going on?" "Where are you? Are you safe?" "I'm fine. I have an apartment. I'm at work. I'm okay." "Good. Listen to me very carefully, Elena. Don't come back to that house." My stomach clenched. "Why? What happened?" "I was there this morning when they found your note. I saw how they reacted. And Elena, you need to understand something. They weren't worried about you. They were worried about themselves." "What do you mean?" "Your mother's first response wasn't, 'Oh my God, where is she?' It was, 'What are people going to think?' Your father's first concern was how this would look to the neighbors. And Sophia..." She paused. "Sophia was upset because she thought it would mess up her aesthetic if people knew her sister had run away." I closed my eyes, unsurprised but still somehow disappointed. "Okay. But it gets worse, Elena. I stayed around because I had a bad feeling. And after about an hour, once they'd processed the shock, they started planning. Planning what? How to spin this, how to control the narrative. Your mother said, and I quote, 'If Elena wants to make a scene, we'll make sure everyone knows she's the unreasonable one.' They're talking about posting on social media, making it seem like you had some kind of mental breakdown. They want to play the victims." A cold wave of anger washed over me. "Of course they do. There's more. I heard your father on the phone with someone. I think it was his brother. He was saying they might need to file a missing persons report. Not because they're worried, but because it would make them look concerned. Make you look unstable for leaving. I'm 20 years old. I left a note. I'm not missing. I know that and you know that, but they don't care about the truth. They care about perception. Elena, I'm telling you this because I've watched them treat you poorly for years, and I've never said anything, and I'm ashamed of that. But this crosses a line. They're not trying to find you because they love you. They're trying to control your story." After we hung up, I stood in that alley for a long time, surrounded by dumpsters and the smell of old coffee and the distant sound of traffic, and I realized something important. Leaving physically wasn't enough. I needed to protect myself from their narrative. That night, in my tiny apartment, I started documenting everything. I screenshot every text message. I saved every voicemail. I wrote down every memory of being dismissed, forgotten, made to feel less than. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I knew they would try to rewrite history, and I needed proof of what had actually happened. My first week in the apartment was harder than I'd expected. Not emotionally. Emotionally, I felt lighter than I had in years, but practically, financially, It was brutal. After paying rent and deposit, I had exactly $897 left. My first electric bill was $73. My phone bill was $45. Food was going to be the challenge. I broke it down. I had 13 days until my next paycheck from the coffee shop. $897 minus bills left me with $779. Divided by 13 days, that was about $60 per day. But I also had to budget for the next month's rent, which meant I really couldn't spend more than $20-25 per day on food and transportation. I became an expert in cheap calories. Instant ramen was 12 cents per packet. Rice was cheap in bulk. Peanut butter, the store brand, was $2.50 for enough to last a week. I started walking everywhere to save bus fare. The coffee shop was 15 minutes on foot. The grocery store was 20 minutes. My second job at a bookstore was 35 minutes. My feet hurt constantly, but I saved $4 per day in bus fare, which over 13 days was $50, which was meaningful. By day 4, I was so lightheaded from not eating enough that I nearly dropped a tray of cups at work. Rosa noticed immediately. "When did you last eat?" she asked, pulling me into the back room. "This morning," I lied. I'd had half a packet of instant oatmeal 24 hours ago. "What did you eat?" I hesitated too long. Rosa's expression shifted from concern to determination. "Sit down," she commanded, pointing at a chair. "Don't move." She disappeared into the front and came back 5 minutes later with a large sandwich, a bag of chips, and a bottle of orange juice. "Eat, all of it. Don't even think about arguing with me." I was too hungry and too grateful to argue. The food was gone in minutes. My stomach hurt from eating too fast, but I felt immediately better, the dizziness receding, my hands steadying. Rosa watched me with an expression I couldn't quite read. When I finished, she pulled up a chair and sat across from me. "How bad is it?" she asked quietly. "How bad is what?" "The money situation. You moved out with no support, working 2 jobs, living in what I'm guessing is a pretty cheap apartment. How tight are we talking?" I saw no point in lying. "Pretty tight. I'm making it work, but I'm eating 1 meal a day until my next paycheck." She nodded slowly, like I'd confirmed something she'd already suspected. "Okay, here's what we're going to do. You work a shift, you eat a meal, employee meal discount. That's 60% off anything on the menu. And don't try to refuse because this is company policy and I'm enforcing it." "I don't think that's actually company policy." "It is now. I'm the manager. I make the policies." She stood up. "And Elena? I've been where you are. Not exactly the same situation, but close enough. I know what it's like to survive on nothing. I know what it's like to count every dollar and still come up short. You're going to get through this, but you don't have to do it alone. Understood?" My throat was too tight to speak, so I just nodded. From that day forward, Rosa made sure I ate at least 1 substantial meal per day. Sometimes it was a sandwich, sometimes leftover pastries that would otherwise go to waste. Sometimes she'd claim a customer's order was wrong even though it clearly wasn't, and she'd hand it to me. She never made a big deal about it, never made me feel like charity. She just made sure I didn't starve. She literally saved my life without ever making me feel like I owed her anything. By the end of my second week, I'd established a rhythm. Wake at 5:30 a.m., walk to coffee shop, work 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., eat my employee meal, walk to the library for an hour to use their Wi-Fi and air conditioning, walk to the bookstore, work 4 p.m. to 9 p.m., walk home, make cheap dinner, study or read, sleep, repeat. It was exhausting but manageable, and more importantly, it was mine. Every step, every decision, every dollar earned, it all belonged to me. My family's messages had evolved from angry to manipulative. "Mom, day 8. Sweetheart, we understand you need space, but please know the door is always open. We love you so much and miss you every day. Dad, day 9. I hope you're managing okay out there. Remember, we're here if you need anything. Sophia, day 11. Hey, so like everyone keeps asking where you are and it's getting awkward. Can you at least tell me what to say?" I didn't respond to any of them. Every message was manipulative in its own way. None of them acknowledged what they'd done. None of them apologized. They just wanted me back under their control, back in my role as the forgotten daughter, back to making their family look complete from the outside. Then, 3 weeks after I left, I got a text from Aunt Patricia. "Call me when you can. Something happened. Don't tell them we're in touch." I called her immediately, stepping out of the coffee shop during my break. "Elena," she answered, her voice tense. "Are you sitting down? Should I be?" "Maybe. Okay. So your parents did something. Something really bad." My heart started racing. "What?" "They contacted your university." The world tilted. "My what?" "Your university. The one you got accepted to for fall semester. They called the admissions office and told them you had a mental breakdown and needed your admission deferred, or possibly reconsidered." I couldn't breathe. I'd gotten accepted to State University 3 months ago, with a partial scholarship. It was supposed to start in 2 months. It was my ticket to a different life, to education, to opportunities, and they'd tried to sabotage it. What did the university say?" "I don't know. I just overheard your father on the phone bragging about it to his brother. He said something like, 'That'll teach her about consequences,' and laughed." After we hung up, I stood in the alley behind the coffee shop, shaking with rage so intense I thought I might throw up. They'd actually called my university. They'd tried to destroy my future. Not because they were concerned about my mental health, but to punish me for leaving, to maintain control, to teach me a lesson. This wasn't neglect anymore. This was active sabotage. I called the university immediately. My hands were shaking so badly I almost couldn't dial. A woman answered on the 3rd ring. "Admissions office. This is Ms. Chen speaking." "Hi, my name is Elena Rodriguez. I'm an accepted student for the fall semester. I need to verify the status of my admission. 1 moment, please." The sound of typing. "Yes, Ms. Rodriguez, I have your file here. Your admission is active and confirmed." "Is there a problem?" The relief was so intense I had to lean against the wall. "No, there's no problem. Did anyone call about me recently? Like family members?" A pause. A significant pause. "We did receive a call recently from someone claiming to be your mother. She expressed concerns about your mental health and suggested we consider deferring or reconsidering your admission." My stomach clenched. "What did you tell her?" "We told her that student admissions are confidential and that we only discuss admission status directly with the student themselves. We explained that we don't make admissions decisions based on third-party calls, especially concerning mental health, without proper documentation, student involvement, and following appropriate protocols. So my admission is still valid?" "Absolutely. Ms. Rodriguez, I'm going to note your file to indicate that you are the only person authorized to discuss your admission. No one else will be able to get information or make changes. Is that acceptable?" "Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much." "Ms. Rodriguez," she said, her voice gentling, "I want you to know that if you're experiencing family difficulties, the university has resources available. We have counseling services, student advocates, emergency housing assistance if needed. You don't have to navigate this alone." After we hung up, I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the dirty alley floor, my head in my hands, trying to process what had just happened. They'd tried to take away my education. They'd actually tried to sabotage my future because I dared to leave, because I'd chosen myself over their dysfunctional dynamic. This wasn't a family that loved me. This was a family that wanted to control me. I pulled myself together, went back inside, finished my shift, and then walked to the public library. I had work to do. Over the next several hours, I documented everything. I created a detailed timeline of every incident I could remember. I screenshot every text message going back months. I saved every voicemail. I wrote out the story of my 20th birthday in excruciating detail. I included copies of receipts showing how I'd been financially independent for years. I compiled photos showing Sophia's room versus my room, Sophia's celebrations versus my lack of celebrations, Sophia's social media posts about their perfect parents. Then I went to the police station. Officer Martinez, a kind-faced man in his early 30s, listened to my story without interruption. When I finished, he reviewed my documentation carefully. Okay, he said finally. So what you're telling me is that you're a legal adult who left home voluntarily. You left a note explaining this. You have your own housing and income, and you're concerned your family might file a false missing persons report? Yes, and they tried to sabotage my university admission. I have proof. I showed him the email exchange with the university. He leaned back in his chair, his expression troubled. This is complicated. What they did with the university is unethical, but it's not technically illegal unless they impersonated you or committed fraud. However, filing a false missing persons report would be illegal. So what can I do? I'm going to file a formal statement establishing that you left voluntarily, that you're safe, that you're a legal adult making your own choices, and that you explicitly do not want contact with your family at this time. If they try to file a missing persons report, we'll have this on record. It won't prevent them from filing, but it will show that you're not actually missing. He spent the next hour taking my statement, making copies of my documentation, and creating an official record. It wasn't much protection, but it was something. Can I give you some advice? He asked as I was leaving. Sure. Change your phone number. They can't harass you if they can't reach you. And document everything going forward. Every attempt at contact. Every social media post about you. Everything. Just in case. I took his advice. The next day, I went to my phone provider and changed my number. I kept the old number active for 2 more weeks, so I could forward important contacts to the new one. But I blocked my family on the old number immediately. The silence was almost shocking. For 3 weeks, my phone had been constantly buzzing with their messages, their calls, their attempts to manipulate or guilt-trip me. Now, nothing. Just blessed, peaceful nothing. My life began to settle into a rhythm that felt sustainable, if not comfortable. I worked 40 hours a week at the coffee shop, another 20 at the bookstore. It was exhausting, but I was making enough to cover rent, utilities, food, and slowly build up my savings again. Rosa continued ensuring I ate at least 1 good meal per day. My second job at the bookstore came with a decent employee discount, which I used to buy used textbooks for my upcoming semester. I made friends at work, real friends who knew nothing about my family drama and liked me for who I was. Mariana, another barista, invited me to her apartment for dinner one night. Just a simple meal, pasta and salad, but sitting around her table with her and her roommates, laughing and talking about nothing important, I realized how starved I'd been for normal, healthy social interaction. "You're really quiet," Mariana observed during a lull in the conversation. "But like, in a comfortable way? Like you're actually listening instead of just waiting to talk." I smiled. I guess I'm used to not being heard, so I make sure to hear others. "That's sad and sweet at the same time," her roommate Jess said. "You okay, Elena?" "Yeah," I said, and I meant it. For the first time in a long time, I really am. 5 weeks after I left home, my new phone rang with an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, wary of my family finding my new number somehow, but something made me pick up. "Elena?" A woman's voice, familiar but strained. "Aunt Patricia?" "Oh, thank God. I got your new number from Rosa. I hope that's okay." My heart sank. "Is everything okay?" No, it's not. Elena, they did something. Your parents and Sophia, they posted something online. It's bad." "What did they post?" "A video. Sophia made a TikTok about you leaving. It's going viral, Elena. It has over 800,000 views and it's still climbing." My stomach dropped. What's in the video?" "Lies, all lies. Can you check TikTok? I'll send you the link." A moment later, the link came through. I clicked it with shaking hands. Sophia's face filled my phone screen. She was in her room, the one that looked like something from an interior design magazine, sitting on her bed with perfect lighting. Her makeup was done to look like she'd been crying, with carefully placed smudges and artfully positioned tears. The background music was one of those sad piano tracks that content creators use for emotional videos. "I don't usually share personal stuff like this," Sophia began, her voice quavering in a way that sounded rehearsed. "But I need to talk about something that's absolutely breaking my heart right now." She paused. wiping away a tear with perfectly manicured fingers. My older sister, Elena. She disappeared almost 5 weeks ago. Just left in the middle of the night without really saying goodbye. And I think she felt like our parents loved me more or something. Which is crazy, because they love us both equally. Another calculated pause. Another perfect tear sliding down her cheek. She's always struggled with jealousy, you know? Always comparing herself to me. And I got a car for my birthday, and I think she just snapped. Like she couldn't handle seeing me happy, so she left. She looked down, the picture of sisterly concern and heartbreak. We've tried everything to find her. We've called, texted, even filed reports with the police. We're so worried about her mental state. She wasn't in a good place before she left. And now we don't know where she is or if she's safe. She looked directly at the camera, her expression one of perfect, practiced concern. If anyone knows Elena Rodriguez, if anyone has seen her or knows where she is, please tell her to contact her family. We miss her so much. We love her so much. We just want her to come home. Mom and Dad are heartbroken. I'm heartbroken. We just want our sister back. The video ended with Sophia's face frozen in that expression of concern, a perfect Instagram-worthy frame of fake worry. I watched it again, and again. Each time the rage built higher. The comment section was a nightmare. Oh my God, your sister is so jealous. This is so sad. Praying for your family. Some people just don't appreciate what they have. I hope she gets the mental health treatment she needs. Your parents must be so worried. Jealousy is such an ugly thing. She should be grateful you're trying to find her. Thousands upon thousands of comments, all sympathizing with Sophia, all painting me as the unstable, jealous, mentally unwell sister who couldn't handle. Seeing her sibling happy. Sophia had turned my pain into content. She'd turned my survival into a storyline. She'd weaponized social media against me, and people were eating it up. I kept scrolling, watching the comment count rise, watching more and more people believe the lie. Then I noticed something. The video had been shared by several family drama and storytime accounts. One particularly large account with 3 million followers had reposted it with the caption, "Influencer's troubled sister goes missing after jealousy spiral. The family just wants her home safe." This wasn't just a viral video. This was becoming a narrative, a story, with Sophia as the concerned sister and me as the villain. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. My chest felt tight. My vision blurred with rage and fear and a desperate, overwhelming sense of being trapped. They'd created a lie that thousands of people believed. And what could I do about it? If I responded, I'd look defensive, unhinged, exactly as they'd framed me. If I stayed silent, their narrative stood unchallenged. I was trapped. I sat in my tiny apartment, surrounded by my cheap furniture and my carefully budgeted groceries and my hard-won independence. And I felt like they'd reached across those 5 weeks and 5 miles and wrapped their hands around my throat again. That night, I barely slept. I kept checking the video. 900,000 views. 1.2 million views. 1.5 million views. Each view was another person who believed their lies. Each comment was another person who thought they knew me, thought they understood my story, thought I was the problem. By morning, the video had 2 million views. I dragged myself to work, exhausted and defeated. Rosa took one look at me and pulled me aside immediately. What happened? I showed her the video. Her face went from concern to furious in seconds. That little... She caught herself. This is complete garbage. This is manipulation. This is... She was so angry she could barely get words out. Elena, you need to respond to this. You need to tell your side. How? She has hundreds of thousands of followers. I barely exist online. Anything I say will just make me look desperate. Then we make you exist online. We tell the truth. The real truth, not her manufactured crap. Rosa, I can't... Yes, you can. And you're going to. Because I've watched you rebuild yourself these past 5 weeks. I've watched you survive on almost nothing, work 2 jobs, create a life from scratch. You're one of the strongest people I know. And I'll be damned if I let your family destroy you with lies just because you finally stood up for yourself. She pulled out her phone. My daughter Jasmine works in social media. She's studying digital marketing. She's helped 3 small businesses blow up online. If anyone can help you tell your story the right way, it's her. That evening, I met Jasmine at a coffee shop, not the one I worked at. She was 19, sharp-eyed, with a presence that suggested she didn't take shit from anyone. I told her everything: the birthday, the car, the years of favoritism, my parents trying to sabotage my university admission, Sophia's video, all of it. Jasmine listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on her phone. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Okay," she said finally. "Here's what we're going to do." Over the next 3 days, Jasmine helped me craft my response. Not an emotional rant, not a defensive explanation. A clear, factual, devastating timeline of the truth. We created a video. Simple production. Me sitting in my apartment. No fancy lighting, no makeup, no performance. Just me and the truth. "My name is Elena Rodriguez," I began, looking directly at the camera. "Some of you have seen a video about me recently. I want to address that video with facts, not emotions." I held up the birthday card, the one with my name spelled wrong. "This is the card I received on my 20th birthday 2 weeks ago. My name is Elena, spelled E-L-E-N-A. My parents spelled it E-L-L-E-N-A. I let that sink in for a moment. On the morning of my 20th birthday, I woke up to find my family celebrating in the driveway. They'd bought my 17-year-old sister a brand new car for her birthday, which is 3 weeks after mine, on my birthday. I showed photos, the timeline of events, screenshots of my parents' attempts to sabotage my university admission, bank statements showing I'd been financially independent for years, proof that I'd left a note, that I wasn't missing, that I was a legal adult making adult decisions. My sister's video says I left because I was jealous. That's not true. I left because I spent 20 years being invisible in my own home. I left because on my 20th birthday, my family gave everything to my sister and nothing to me. I left because when I tried to point out the inequality, I was told I was being dramatic. I paused, letting my words carry weight. I'm not posting this for revenge. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm not trying to destroy anyone. I'm posting this because I spent 20 years having my reality denied, being told my feelings weren't valid, being made invisible, and I'm done. Then I played the trump card, the evidence that would make everything undeniable. Before I left, a family member recorded a conversation between my parents and my sister, where they discussed using my leaving as content for social media, where they laughed about the attention it would bring to my sister's accounts, where they discussed how to frame me as mentally unstable to control the narrative. I played the audio, the full 23-minute recording that Aunt Patricia had secretly made. My mother's voice, clear and unmistakable. If we play this right, Sophia's account will explode. Everyone loves a family drama redemption story. Dad, we need to make Elena look unstable but not dangerous. Worried family, troubled daughter. People eat that up. Sophia, with no tears in her voice now. Should I mention the birthday thing? Make it seem like she was jealous? Mom. Perfect. You got an expensive gift? She got a card? But frame it like you don't understand why she'd be upset. Make yourself look confused and generous. They laughed. In the recording, they actually laughed about manipulating the situation. The audio continued for several more damning minutes. Them strategizing, planning, discussing how many followers Sophia might gain, debating the best way to make me look unstable while making themselves look like concerned, loving family members. When the audio ended, I spoke one final time. This is the truth, not my sister's carefully crafted story designed to gain followers, not my parents' attempt to save face, just the truth. I left because I deserved better than being invisible, and I'm not coming back. I ended the video simply. Thank you for listening. Jasmine had created a new TikTok account for me. No followers, no history, no context. Just this one video. We posted it at 8 p.m. on a Thursday night. Within 30 minutes, it had 15,000 views. Within an hour, 100,000. By midnight, over 1 million people had watched it. The comments section exploded. "Oh my God, the audio. I believed the other video. I'm so sorry. This is actual abuse. The fact that they planned this is insane. That recording is devastating. Her name was spelled wrong on her birthday card. I'm gonna cry. They bought the sister a car on her birthday?" I take back every comment I made on Sophia's video. People started finding Sophia's original video and flooding it with new comments. "We heard the recording. We know the truth. You should be absolutely ashamed of yourself. Your sister deserves so much better than you. Using your sister's trauma for clout is disgusting. I hope every single one of your followers sees the truth." By Friday morning, my video had 3 million views. By Friday evening, 5 million. By Saturday, it was approaching 8 million. Sophia's video, which had been full of sympathetic comments, turned into a war zone. Her comments section became thousands of people calling her out, demanding accountability, expressing disgust at the manipulation. People started unfollowing her en masse. Her follower count, which had been steadily climbing, began dropping. 500 followers, 1,000 followers, 5,000 followers. Saturday afternoon, Sophia posted a response video. Her tone was completely different. No tears, no soft lighting. She looked genuinely rattled. "Okay, so there's been some misunderstanding about the video I posted about my sister," she began, her usual confidence replaced with nervousness. "I was just trying to... we were really worried about her, and I thought maybe if she saw how concerned we were, I didn't mean to." She was floundering, unable to construct a coherent defense when the evidence was so damning. "I'm sorry if anyone felt misled. Family stuff is complicated, and I was just trying to find my sister, and I didn't know she'd take it this way." The comments on her apology video were brutal. "Not if anyone felt misled. You straight up lied. We heard you planning this. We heard you laughing about it. This is what happens when your lies catch up with you. You're sorry you got caught, not sorry for what you did." By Sunday, my video had 10 million views and had been featured on several major social media news accounts. People were dissecting it, analyzing the audio, comparing it to Sophia's video, discussing favoritism and family dynamics, and the ethics of using family trauma for content. My parents posted a statement on Facebook Sunday evening, a long, rambling post about misunderstandings and things taken out of context, and we love both our daughters equally. Nobody believed them. The comments on their post were savage. "The audio doesn't lie. You tried to sabotage her university admission. That's not love. Equal love doesn't mean one daughter gets a car and the other gets a misspelled card. The fact that you still can't admit what you did is the problem." I didn't feel triumphant watching all this unfold. I didn't feel vindicated or satisfied or any of the emotions I might have expected. I just felt tired. So incredibly tired. But I also felt free. The university reached out to me Monday morning. Not Ms. Chen this time, but someone higher up, the director of admissions. They assured me my place was absolutely secure, and they were adding additional scholarship money to my aid package based on my situation. "Students who overcome adversity while maintaining academic excellence are exactly who we want at our university," she said. "Rosa gave me a raise at the coffee shop. You've been through hell and you show up on time every single day," she said. "That's worth something." Strangers on the internet sent messages of support. Hundreds of them. People sharing their own stories of being the forgotten child, of escaping toxic family dynamics, of choosing themselves when no one else would choose them. I wasn't alone. I'd never been alone. I'd just been told I was alone for so long that I'd believed it. 3 days after my video went viral, after the dust had started to settle and people had begun moving on to the next internet drama, I received a letter. It came to the coffee shop, addressed to me in my mother's handwriting. Rosa handed it to me during my shift with a concerned look. "You don't have to open that if you're not ready," she said. "I think I need to," I replied. I waited until my break, stepped into the back room, and carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter, 3 pages long, My mother's handwriting, neater than usual, as if she'd taken care with each word. "Elena," it began, "I don't expect you to forgive us. I don't expect you to even read this entire letter. But I need to say these things, even if only for myself. You were right about everything. The favoritism, the neglect, the constant dismissal of your needs and feelings and achievements. We did fail you. Not just on your birthday, but for 20 years. When I heard that recording played back in your video, I heard myself planning to exploit your pain for social media engagement, laughing about it even, and I was disgusted. That woman in the recording wasn't the mother I thought I was, but she was the mother I had become. I can't explain why we favored Sophia without it sounding like excuses, so I won't try. But I can tell you this. We treated you the way we did because you were strong enough to survive it. Sophia always seemed so fragile, so breakable, and you seemed so sturdy, so capable. We leaned on your strength until we broke you, and that's unforgivable. I can't undo 20 years of damage. I can't take back the forgotten birthdays, the dismissive comments, the constant comparisons. I can't give you back your childhood or restore your sense of worth, or erase the years you spent feeling invisible in your own home. All I can do is tell you that I see it now. I see what we did to you, and I am so, so sorry. You don't owe me anything. Not forgiveness, not contact, not even acknowledgement of this letter. You deserve to build whatever life makes you happy, with or without us in it. But please know this. You were never the problem. You were never less than Sophia. You were never unworthy of love and attention and celebration. We failed you, not the other way around. I'm proud of you, Elena. I should have said that 1,000 times before. I should have said it on your birthday, on your achievements, on random mornings just because you existed. But I'll say it now. I'm proud of the person you've become, despite us, not because of us. If you ever want to talk, we're here. But if you never want to see us again, I understand that too. That's your right, and you've earned it. I love you. I should have shown you that every single day of your life. I'm sorry I didn't. Mom. I read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face. It was everything I'd ever wanted to hear, every word I'd longed for, every acknowledgement I'd needed, and it came 20 years too late. I folded the letter carefully, put it back in the envelope, and placed it in my backpack. Maybe someday I'd respond. Maybe someday I'd be ready to have a conversation with them. But not today, not this week, probably not this year. The wound was still too fresh, the betrayal still too deep. I had a life to build, on my own terms, without their approval or their presence or their judgment. Summer passed in a blur of work and preparation for university. I saved money. I bought used textbooks. I connected with other incoming students online. I made plans. My 21st birthday approached with significantly less anxiety than my 20th had. This time, I knew exactly what to expect. Nothing from my family, and everything from my chosen family. Rosa organized a small party at her house. Nothing fancy, just pizza and cake and her kids and some of my coworkers. Mariana from the coffee shop came, and Jess, and a few other people I'd gotten close to over the months. They sang happy birthday, and they sang it to Elena, spelled correctly. They gave me small gifts, a nice pen for university, a gift card to the bookstore, a framed photo of all of us from a night we'd hung out. It wasn't extravagant, it wasn't Instagram-worthy, but it was real, it was genuine. It was people who saw me, who valued me, who celebrated me just for existing. That night, looking at photos from the party on my phone, I realized something profound. I didn't need my parents to acknowledge my worth to know I had it. I didn't need Sophia's approval to move forward. I didn't need the internet's validation to know I'd done the right thing. I had survived. I had escaped. I had built a life entirely on my own terms. And that was enough. That was more than enough. That was everything. My name is Elena Rodriguez. I'm 21 years old now. I'm starting university in 2 weeks with a full scholarship. I work at a coffee shop and a bookstore. I have a tiny apartment that's all mine. I have friends who actually see me. I have a future that I'm building with my own hands. I came from a family that made me invisible, but I learned to see myself. On my 20th birthday, my sister got a brand new car, and I got a card with my name spelled wrong. On my 21st birthday, I got something infinitely more valuable. I got myself back. I got my voice back. I got my worth back. And that's a gift no one can ever take away. If you're listening to this, and you felt invisible in your own family, if you've been the forgotten child, the less favored sibling, the one expected to be grateful for crumbs while others feast, I want you to know something. Your feelings are valid. Your pain is real. And your worth exists independent of their ability to see it. You are not too sensitive. You are not overreacting. You are not imagining things. And you deserve better. Maybe you'll get an apology like I eventually did. Maybe you won't. But either way, you can still build a life worth living. You can still find people who see you, who celebrate you, who make space for you. Family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up for you. It's about who celebrates your wins, who holds you when you cry, who remembers your birthday without being reminded. Find those people. Build that family. Become that person for yourself. You are worthy of love, attention, celebration, and care. You always have been. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who make you forget that. I did. And I've never been happier. My name is Elena Rodriguez. This is my story. And I'm finally free.